Hello everyone, this is Shauna Lofy with Shauna Lofy Portraits, and I am going to go over the tutorial today for the 5x7 postcard slash direct mail slash voucher design. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get this one up. I've been really swamped the last couple weeks. And as is being a Saturday, there's a little extra noise going on in the background. I'm sorry, my neighbor's actually mowing their lawn right now. So I hope you can't hear any of that, but if you can, please ignore it, and I will try to talk as loud as possible so you guys can hear me. Right now, I just want to show you, this is, when you get the template, this is going to be a sample, one of the samples that I sent along with my design template. It's just a couple options of how I put mine together, and I'm going to show you how I built it. And you can take your design from there and change it around however you want, and I'm going to show you how you can change all these different blocks of text and colors and graphics so that you can make it your own design and incorporate your own brand. So let's get started. We're going to start with this first design. I have a bonus side too I'm going to work on. The concepts are all the same, but I'll run you through all the other front and back options, and just to get you started. But they're all pretty much follow the same steps in adding your photos and your text and your graphics. Let's start with postcard option 1, side 1. You'll notice that there is on the layers we have a background layer where you can add change the color of the background or fill it with an entire photograph. You can put your photograph on top of that and maybe even lower the opacity of it, so whatever the color of the background is, it'll show up and blend with this layer of your photo. There's layers for text. Again, I put this in Lorem Ipsum. It's just a placeholder font that graphic designers use. It's just Latin, some sort of Latin poem, and I don't have the translation. But it's just there so that you can place your text. And I can't send you the fonts because we call it trademark issues. But you're welcome to use whatever fonts you have. When you open it up in Photoshop, your system will change it to whatever the default fonts are for your computer. Usually they're Helvetica or Arial, or they'll find whatever's closest to what I built the design in. And then we have more text for, I think this is just for this, click on the type tool. This is, the text for the paragraph that goes over this overlay. And that's what this layer is. It's just an overlay. Once I put a photograph on there, it will fade back, and I think I have that in one of these design options I have up. Samples. Let's see. No, but it basically it kind of gives a ghost color over a photograph, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute. And then I have these are just the guides. You're going to want to hide this layer. That's just these guides, because it's just there so to show you where the bleeds and safe areas are for your document. Anything outside of here is going to be bleeding off, so you're going to have either color or photo, and when you send it to the printer, anything beyond this blue line will get cut off. And this right here is called the safe area. You don't want to put any text in this area because the chances are that when you send it to your printer, it might go off aligned a little bit, and it may cut off a little bit right here, a little too much right there, or a little too much right here at the bottom. And if you have any text there, that will get cut off too. And just as a basic design rule, you want to keep a nice little buffer around your document. Mine is set at 1/4 of an inch all the way around, just to give it a nice layout for your design. And it's just a rule that all graphic designers follow. Anything inside the red area is the safe area. This is where you want to keep your text. And again, I put another little buffer for some other copy around that. Again, it's about 1/4 of an inch. Then I have my headline butting up right to the edge of the safe area. This gives it enough distance right here that it won't get cut off, and it still looks really good once it gets printed. So again, just keep in mind, you don't want to put any text in this area, and especially right in this area. But here, everything's going to get cut off beyond the blue line. So when you're done with your design and you're ready to send it to the printer, make sure you either turn this layer off before you flatten it, or you can drag it down to the trash altogether and get rid of it and save your document. But we're going to keep it in there for now because we're going to use this for building our design. All right, so let's open up some images. I'm going to go into Bridge, and I'm going to open up, let's see, what pictures do I have in here? I think Kelly, yes, I have Kelly, and I have Emily, and Kaylee. So let's go get those images and go back into our front of our postcard. All right, let's start off with finding Kelly's image. All right, and let's get the rest of our images here. And get our Kaylee image. And I think I have, yep, that's this one. Yep, it's a high, oops, sorry. Click and drag to open it up in Photoshop. And back into Bridge again. Bridge is just a great program to use if you want to quickly find something instead of going to File to Open. Everything is right here for you, and you can open it directly up in Photoshop. Let's see. And let's see, a picture of Emily, I believe is this one. Yep. Oh, that's the unedited one. And let's see. Yeah, this is it. Oops. Click on that and drag it to the Photoshop file. Good. And let's see who else. Oh yeah, the other picture, Kaylee. Again, going into Bridge. And back into Kaylee's folder. And let's see. We had this image. Good. Okay, now we have all our images. I'm going to go back into here, and first we're going to get Kelly's image. So again, we're going to go to Select All, or Command A, Edit to Copy, and click on to your template, and on this layer, Edit to Paste. Oops, open it up in a new layer, not a big deal. But at least it's just there to show you this is where you're going to put all the layers for your images on, so that it is behind the background layer for this block of color. Right now it's gray, but we're going to change that. And it's below all our text. All right, so we're going to reduce the size of Kelly's image because obviously it's taking up way, there's just a lot of space here. And you could put in any image you want. If you want a 3/4 image from about the knee to the head, it looks good, or put in a close-up image. Just use your best image. It's always good to put in your marketing the best of the best that you have, because you want those to sell your business. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform to Scale so that we can reduce the size of Kelly's image. And I'm going to hit Command minus to zoom out. And again, you can go to View to zoom out. And the keyboard shortcut is the Command key and the minus sign. Okay, I'm holding down my Shift key on my keyboard and I'm dragging in the image just until I have it almost just outside of that artwork area. Okay, it's just outside our bleed area. And I can bring it in further if I want, if you don't want to have any heads cutting off too much. And I want to move her over, so now I'm just using my arrow keys on my keyboard to just incrementally move her over. And I like the placement, so I'm going to hit Return, and the bounding boxes go away. Again, I'm just going to go up a little bit, and I'm zooming in, Command plus. And right now you can tell after the off the blue line, this is what's going to get cut off. That I don't mind. It's not that big a deal to me. I don't mind that it gets cut off because the main part of the image is there. You can see the shape of her body. You can see her hands are not getting cut off. Her head isn't going to get cut off. There's just enough space right there, right above her. Okay. So for this, I want to change the color of this background, and I like to use my colors of my logo. And again, you're welcome to use whatever you want. You can make it a solid color with an overlay of maybe a pattern background. I wouldn't use that for this design because there's already a lot of pattern going on in the background of her picture. So I'm going to leave mine solid. You can also overlay an image on here and kind of make it a ghost image like I have in the example right here. Sample 2, I think it is, yeah. There's a shadow, or sorry, a ghost image back here. It's a black and white, kind of more like a sepia image that I put and lowered the opacity on this solid color just to give it a little bit more of a design element that I liked. I think it's very, it's just a beautiful picture, and the eyes really grab the viewer. So to me, it was an element that worked. But since there's a lot of text over this, you might want to watch the placement of such images. Close-ups will work best. Make sure the eye, at least one eye, is being covered up by the text. And you may want to move your text around or reduce the amount of text that you have on yours. It really just depends on the message you're putting on your design, what you're using it for, if it's going to be a direct mailer, or if it's going to be a gift voucher, or if it's just going to be anything that's marketing your business, whether it's just an introductory to it, telling people what it's about. You can use this for anything, really. Okay, let's go ahead and change the color of this. I'm going to open up my logo because I'm going to need to place it anyways. And I'm just going to go File to Open for that, and go to my desktop. And I have my logo saved in a folder there. And I'm going to open up my 3-color logo in EPS. Okay, good. And I'm going to set it at 300 DPI because it's a high resolution. I need to set it in Cmyk because we're printing. Anything that's in RGB won't print very well because those are light colors for a monitor. And we need colors for ink. And those are cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And you're going to have to change your entire document to that, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Okay, I've got my logo. I want to sample the colors. I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool, and then click on a color in my logo. And you see it pops up right there in the color palette. And if you don't have your color palette open, just go into Window and open up your color palette. It's F6 if you want to do the keyboard shortcut. If you don't have your swatch palette open, you go to the same place and you look for the swatches. I already have mine open. It's right there. There's no keyboard shortcut for that one. Okay, in the color palette, I'm going to click on it. Yeah, it's okay. It's in there. And I want to add it to my swatches. Oops, let me move this over. I want to click and add that to my swatches, so it'll go into my swatch palette. And I'm going to call this Coral. Alright, and I'm calling this color Coral. You can name your colors however you want. It's just for me so that I know exactly what color that is, and it's going to be in my swatch palette. So I'm going to hit OK. And yes, everything's fine. I don't want to change anything about this. And hit OK. And there you see it pops up right there in the swatch palette. And then I'm going to click on the next color. And again, I'm going to double click on that in my color wheel. I'm sorry, my color palette. Click Add to Swatches, and I'm going to call this one Warm Gray. And I think this is my darker one, or maybe it's my medium one, so I think I'm going to label it medium. And I'm going to click OK. And again, it shows up, and I'm going to click OK again because I don't want to change anything about my color. Good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and copy. No, I don't have it on this design. Go back into my my postcard, side 1. Where did it go? So we got one over here. Let's move my samples out of the way so I can see everything else. Alright, here we go, option 1. Alright, now to change the color of this block, there's a couple ways you can do it. The easiest one is to double click on that layer. Go to Color Overlay, click on the little box of color, the little red box, that's the default, and I'm going to select my color in my swatches, and then it automatically changes it. Click OK, click OK again. Now we have a new color on there. It's still going to show up as gray because right now the effect that's over it is called an overlay. It's If you want to change the color of the box itself, you can do that another way. Let me go to my history palette, and you can command click, make sure you clicked on the layer thumbnail, hold down your command key on your keyboard, click it, and you'll see the marching ants appear. And you can do the same thing again, select with the eyedropper in the Swatch palette, click on the color you want, hit Option Delete, I'm sorry, Command Delete. Okay, go in the move tool. And why is it not doing it? I think I have, no. Oh, I know, sorry. This is not, it's a vector file. I copied this into Photoshop as a vector graphic from Indesign, from the original Indesign template. So what I need to do is make this a rasterized layer. So I'm going to double click on it. Oops, that's all. I'm sorry. Hold down my Control key and click Rasterize Layer. And now it is, instead of an object, it's just a block of color in Photoshop. Then I can hit Command key, the Command key on my keyboard, and click on the layer thumbnail. Marching ants appear, and now hit Option Delete. And now you've changed the color of the block again. So that's another way of doing it. I like, and you can see now that it shows up in the Swatch palette as that block of color. So if you are just more visual and want to make sure that you're keeping track of everything, you can do it that way so that it shows up in the layers palette that way. And if you don't like the color, you want to switch it again, you can always double click. Again, do another color overlay and maybe switch it to the secondary color that I have here. Oops. Click on the little red box. Then in my swatch palette, select my other color and hit OK. And now we have a color overlay effect over the coral. But since I like the coral, I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to drag it down there to delete that color overlay on that layer. All right, next is I want to change the text. And in my, let's see, where is, I can't remember what I was doing here. Okay, we already have Kelly, we don't need her anymore. Let's close that image. There, there. Keep switching around on me. I want to keep them in order. There you go. All right, now let's select the text and change the color of that. I want to change it to my coral color, or not my coral color, but the warm gray. And I'm going to call this something different. I'm going to change the text here. I'll call it gift voucher. Simple as that. And you can change the kerning in the text. Right now I have it set at, oops, I selected all of it. Right now I have it set at 200 if you have your character palette open. If not, you go into type, window to character. I have mine selected already, and there's a keyboard shortcut for that one. So if you want to change it and bring the spaces between those letters, the kerning, down, you can always drop it down to 0, and you have, it looks a little more normal now. You can always bring it in a little bit if there's more space in the font that you chose. -25 is a pretty good option to choose for that. And you can increase the size incrementally if you want to, if you kind of know the exact size that you want to make it. Right now it's set at 40. You can go to the type size and increase it, go to 48, or you can go to Edit, Transform to Scale, and then make it fit into the area that you want a little bit more accurately rather than trying to guess exactly what size it is. And then hit Enter once you got to your size. I like it to be the way I had it before. I want it set at 40 for this particular design because I like the way it looks. That when it looks at that at 40 points, it reads pretty large enough, and I like it set at 200. That's weird. I did change the size. Let's go to 30. Maybe I had 30. I read it wrong. You get my eyes checked. Yeah, let's set at 30. Okay. So, and I'm gonna using my arrow key to just kind of move it over and fit it into the space between this line that I have separating this body of text between the headline and the edge of my color block. Now we're going to change the text to whatever you have set for whether it's a gift voucher or any other text that you want to put into this particular marketing piece that you're going to use it for, whatever you're going to use it for. I'm going to change the color of this, so I'm going to select all my text. Again, using my type tool, click and drag, and using my using this little switch arrow I have because I already have my color selected. I'm just going to change it from white to this warm gray. There's really not a lot of contrast here, so I think I'm going to have to select another color. I'm going to go back into my logos and select my lighter color logo. I think it's this one. Open it up at 300 dpi. Good, and I want to select this color again. Double clicking on that layer, add to swatches, and I'm going to call this warm gray light. And hit OK. And OK again. And I don't need it open anymore, so I'm going to close that. Alright, and I'm going to change the color of my text again. Selecting all of it and clicking on my new color swatch. And they're much lighter, much more contrasty between that very bright coral color. That I know this isn't going to be as bright once I go to get it printed. It's actually going to dull it down a couple of shades, and this still needs a little bit more contrast because if I did use the medium warm gray, you would not be able to read this text. So just keep that in mind with the colors that you're choosing. Make sure that you have, if on screen it doesn't have a lot of contrast, chances are it's going to have even less contrast once it goes to print. All right. And I have this little line spacer. I want to change the color of that. So I'm going to double click on that layer, do a color overlay, click on the little red box, and then in my swatch palette, select the new color and hit OK. All right, and you can always lower the opacity of that. You want it to be less visible. Want it to be maybe a little more subtle. I think because of how thin that little line is, I wouldn't go past 25 for that. But I like mine to be at 100%, so I'm just going to keep it at that. And again, if you want to change the opacity, just go to the Layers palette, and in opacity, click on this little arrow next to the percentage, and you can drag the slider down, or you can select the text that has a percentage and manually put it in. All right. Next is you might want to go into wherever you have your text saved for your whatever you're going to use your marketing piece for. I have some text already set aside in my notes. Let's see. Instead of a gift voucher, I can make this my How Do You Dream Being Photographed postcard. That's the text I have saved right now. What I'm going to do is actually open up my Indesign file because I did not save my text in my notes. So I'm going to go into the Indesign. I created mine in Indesign, but I created also the template in Photoshop because a lot of people requested it because they don't have Indesign or don't know how to use it or just feel more comfortable using it in Photoshop. The benefits of Indesign, though, is that I can put multiple files in my document. So I can have, if I'm going to keep them all the same size, 5x7, keep it at a horizontal orientation, I can keep as many document files in there, front, back, 10 versions of it if I wanted to. Whereas in Photoshop, and I can only have open one file at a time and work one file at a time. And it's just, for me, it's just easier to use InDesign for this type of thing. But again, up to you. I'm going to go and open up my document for my postcard. And let's see, marketing and postcards, gift voucher. And I'm just going to take the text that I had in here. So as you can see right here, I have multiple documents or multiple files in this document. And I'm going to get the text, copy it all, Command C, go back into Photoshop, and paste it in there. Okay. And I just want this line of text to go to the, because it's kind of, you can see it's going off the edge right here. I don't want that. I'm going to place my cursor right above, or right before of, and hit the return key, and now it's on another line of text. I think I want to increase the size of my headline and maybe drop it up, bring it up to 14 or even possibly 18. I think that might be a little too much. Okay, and I'm going to close out the InDesign file because it's slowing down my computer a little bit. All right. Now I just have Photoshop and Bridge open. All right, so let's see. Maybe this text might be a little too big. For readable text, the main body of your text, you can go as low as 10 for that or go up to 14. It really just depends on you. I personally use between 10 and 12 just for readability, and it depends on the size of your document. A 5x7 postcard with a 10-point font on it reads really, really well. Again, you don't want to pick a font that's too thin. Right now I have this at a VNAR Next Condensed Regular. If I have it at ultra light, you can barely see it on the computer, which means you won't see it at all once it gets printed. So definitely not a font to choose for 10-point text. If you're using that as your headline, something quite as big as this, it might work, but I definitely don't suggest using it for printing material. You can also change your font. I can change it to my regular VNAR. It works pretty well in this document, but I think that the condensed version looks a little bit better for me. So I'm going to go back to that. All right. And I can change the weight of it, make it medium, make it a little bit thicker. Looks pretty good like that. Again, I'm going to go back. I've already had this printed, so I know that the regular size font will work really well, and it prints just cleanly, and it looks nice and readable. All right, so add in your phone number, add in any contact information, add any more text that you want to put on here. Let me show you really quickly how to do a ghost image. Let me open up Bridge and go to my image of Amanda. And all right, so I'm going to hit Command All to select the entire image, Command C to copy, and go back into my, where is my ghost card? Disappeared again. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to click just above my coral color layer and hit Command V to paste it. And again, it's really, really big, so I'm going to scale, actually, right now I'm going to see just how much of this image I want to use. So I'm going to move it over to around the area that my color block is on, and I'm going to lower the opacity. I'm going to drop this down to 25 because I just want it ghosting over that. 25 I think is still too much. Maybe 10. 10 to 5 is probably the lowest you want to go. When it goes to print, it'll be barely be able to see it. I think that might be even too light for this particular image. Maybe go up to 15. I don't really think it works really well in the coral. So let me double click on my coral color and do an overlay and change the color of that block there. I put it in the warm gray. I think that looks really better. Just watch for things like that. See that they aren't just taking away from your design. I think this is too competing as far as the layout that I want. I think having these two images are just a bit too overbearing. It's not subtle. I think I'll use it for the back instead, so I'm just going to delete this layer. And then delete my overlay, and I have it back at coral. Okay, now I'm pretty much done with this side. If you want to change your headline, change your orientation, this is really easy. I'm going to click on Gift Voucher, go to Edit, to Transform, to Rotate. And now I'm going to move my text and make it horizontal. And I'm holding down my Shift key. If I don't hold down my Shift key, you do this and you're kind of like, yeah, this is straight. You'd have to really play with it to see those lines go completely straight. If you're using your Shift key, it goes a little bit more smoothly. Oops. I'm going to go back to history. Okay, back to history. Edit, transform to rotate, holding down, oops, there. Go to Gift Voucher there, edit, transform to rotate, holding down my shift key. Gives me right to the back to horizontal, straight horizontal, and hit return. And then you can move this wherever you want to have your gift voucher to be. You also, maybe you want to make this a scripty font. Let's take the kerning out of here. And I'm going to select a new font. I think that, let's see, where is ET Mahogany? Let's see it. Ah, there it is, right above a Wiener. For me, this particular font goes really well with the Wiener. It's light, it's a little fun, while still being a little bit classier. But the styles of these two, I think, work really well together. Again, something you're going to have to decide on your own how it works. You don't want to use more than 2 different font styles, which these would be 2 different fonts. And a different style would be as if I wanted to take this text, one of my fonts, and change it from regular to italicized, right there. Okay, so you don't want to change it up too much. The script already has an italicized look to it, so I think regular works really well for the sans serif font, and Gift Voucher being the only script font that I have in this particular design. Want to maybe increase the size. Let's take out this line separator because it's really distracting. Increase the size of this text by going to Edit, Transform to Scale. Oops. Click on Gift Voucher in the Layers palette. Edit, Transform to Scale. And just increase the size, just like that. And place it wherever you want to. And maybe you want to keep that, but want it back to vertical text. So again, edit, free transform, scale to rotate, edit, free transform, rotate, and you can change the orientation of that text from horizontal to vertical. And again, just playing with it to see how it fits. Yes, apply. Maybe change this to a capital G and a capital V. And you have a completely different look now. And then you just have to move the rest of your text over, clicking on that layer, and I'm using my shift and arrow key to move that text over very quickly on my keyboard. And again, clicking on Gift Voucher. Maybe I want to make that bigger. Edit, free transform, scale. And don't make it any larger than the red line. That again is your safe area. Right there. And now we have a completely different look. And for this particular font, you'll notice that there's a lot of space between some of the letters. So I'm going to click and drag and select only those 2 letters and bring the kerning in. I'm going to start at 100. It's still not quite enough. Maybe 125. Good. And then I need to select the O and all the other letters and set them back to 0. So it puts them back to normal. Now I have less of a space between my V and O, and it looks like they're together now as one word rather than V and then Voucher all by itself. Doesn't really work. And my I and G need to come a little closer together, so again I'm just going to select a G and I and go to my kerning, and I'm going to bring it into 100 to start. Too much. Maybe try 50. 50 looks good. And then select IFT, set it back to 0. Oops. I guess I didn't click the eye. It's kind of hard to grab them all. There we go. Now set it back to normal. And then maybe my gift and voucher are too far apart. So I'm going to click the space in between. It looks like it's selecting the V, but it's really not. Maybe it is. This one's tough to, there it is. Tough to find that one. Maybe bring it down to 150. Good. I think it's just enough space between gift and voucher. This particular font just needed a little bit more finessing. And again, you can, if you want to bring it right to the edge of the safe area, go to Edit, oops, Edit, Transform to Scale, and increase the size like that. All right. So say that you've got your design exactly the way that you want it, and you don't want to do any more changes. Let me move this over a little bit. Okay, and you want to get started on your next side. Make sure you save a file that has all the Photoshop layers in it so that you can go back and change it. make any edits to it, whatever. You can, if you flatten it, you won't be able to save anything you did on this design. You'll have to start all over again. So let's do a file to save as. And I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop, or you can save it to wherever you want to in your documents file on your computer, or put it on an external hard drive. I'm going to label my new file gift voucher. Actually, I'm going to make it postcards, 5x7 postcards, because I'm going to have more than one in here. Create. I'm going to put a new folder in here for gift voucher. And hit create. Make sure your format is saved as a Photoshop file. And this is 5x7 option 1. You can resave this to whatever you want to call it, so that's more specific to you. You'll be able to find it, you know what it is. I'm just going to leave it the way that it's already labeled, and hit save. Okay. Now that we have a Photoshop version, let's get a printable version. We want to turn that layer off, the layer that has our guides, the one that's labeled in red, or you can click and drag it down to your little trash can in your layers palette. Go to layer to flatten, hit OK, and I'm going to do save as, Command Shift S, or File to save as, and in my folder I'm going to change the format to a JPEG, or you can change it to EPS or to Photoshop PDF. It depends on who you're using as your printer and how they want the file sent. Some will, most of them except Photoshop PDF, in fact, require it. So I'm going to just select a PDF and then hit save. And now it has a PDF version of that. I don't want to preserve any editable capabilities because it will make the file size way too big. It doesn't matter if it's fast viewing on the web, unless your printer has a preview on it. I use gotprint.net, and it'll give me a preview, online preview and proof, so this speeds up the printing process a little bit more. You can save that there, and then just hit Save PDF. All right, and let's go ahead and close this one because I don't need it open anymore. Oops, that's the wrong one. All right, and I'm going to go into, let's see, let me go into my bonus side. All right. All the other ones they'll follow the same formula that I'm going to have. They're all set up pretty much the same. Everyone has a folder for each box for text, for images, and they're labeled to help find them. And if you're not sure which one is which, click on the little eye tool, the little eye in the palette on the layer, and you can see which exactly that one is. And then you can also relabel these if you want. You want to call it something else, just double click on that layer text, and you'll see it highlight in blue, and you can change the name of it there. Okay? Maybe you want to label it the name of whoever picture you're putting in there. Call it Amanda's picture or Emily's picture, whatever you want to do. Okay, now let's go into a picture of Kaylee, and I'm going to put her picture in here. So I'm going to hit Command A to select all the image, Command C to copy, and go into our bonus side B, and in the bottom right box, the little square, I'm going to open up the folder and place my image. I'm going to click on the little, I have my place your photo here. It may or may not show up directly in that layer thumbnail. If it doesn't, I'm going to show you how to put it in. I'm going to hit Command V to paste it. Okay, it doesn't show up in that layer. That's fine. What I want to do, right here I have a layer mask, and it's indicated by where the layer that says place photo here, it looks all black in the secondary thumbnail with a little white box in there. Everything around that black area is what's hidden, and everything that's in the white is what's going to show. So let me click on this icon. I'm going to drag it up to my layer with Kaylee in it, and you'll see how everything that Kaylee was in is now selected. And now the frame is covered up slightly. So I'm going to move that frame above Kaylee. And now Kaylee, part of Kaylee's image is showing behind the white frame and within that layer mask. Now I'm going to unlink her with the the layer mask, because if I keep it there, it's going to reduce the whole thing. I just want to reduce the image of Kaylee. And then click on her thumbnail in that layer. Go to Edit, Transform to Scale. And click, with the Shift key held down on your keyboard, click and drag it down to fit your image in. And I want a little bit more showing. And right there. Maybe a little bit more up here. And hit return once you have it set to the size that you want. And again, I'm holding down my, my shift key to make, and clicking on my arrows to make it move a little bit faster. If you're just hitting the arrows, it moves a lot slower. Okay, so I want her elbows and her arm just to be just at the edge of that, of the box frame. All right, so we got one image down. And maybe you want to change the color of the frame. Again, double click on that layer, color overlay, and I'm going to change this, click on the little color icon, and I'm going to change this to my light warm gray, and hit OK. And I'm going to double click on the background layer and change the color of that as well. Again, color overlay, click on the little red box, and in your swatch palette with the eyedropper, select your color and hit OK. Yeah, I think I'm going to make that the darker warm gray because I want a ghost image behind there. Okay, and let's select the ghost image and go into the picture I had of Amanda. Oops, that's right, I have it in Bridge. And click and drag it down to Photoshop to open it up. All right. Command A to select the entire image, Command C to copy. Go into the bonus side B, and above the color layer, Command V, and I'll place it on its own layer. And I'm going to lower the opacity to about 15, maybe 20. You see it a little bit better. And I'm just going to move her picture so that you can see the eyes just above the picture where I'm going to position the next image. Okay, so this will here, once I place the image in this box, oops, most of Amanda's going to get covered up. Well, maybe I'll just do right about there. So both her eyes are showing. You can see some of her nose and mouth, and not everything's completely covered up. All right. So now we're going to go into our next image. I'm going to close that folder because you don't need it open anymore, the folder of Kaylee. I'm going to go to one of the larger boxes. Again, we're going to repeat the same process again. This is the image that, or where it says place your photo here. That's what's inside of my my white box inside the layer mask. It deletes once you put a new picture in. So once I put the picture of Emily, it deletes, just like it did with Kaylee. So don't worry about that. It won't show up in your document. Let's open another picture. Let's go to the picture of Emily. I think I might have it open already. Nope. Oh, maybe I do. Nope, that's not it. Okay. I'm going to go into Bridge and grab a new picture. And let's see. Picture of Emily. Get my high-res images. And I believe, let me look to thumbnail view. Yeah, that's the image I want. Okay. Click and drag it down into the Photoshop program. Command A to select the image. Command C to copy it. Go back into my bonus layer, and I'm going to click on my place photo and Command V. Again, her image isn't going to show up in its own layer, so I'm going to click the layer mask and drag it onto Emily's image, and there she is. All right. Again, unselect the link, the little chain icon. Edit, free transform to scale. Oops. Clicking on the wrong image. That's the place photo. You might want to, if you don't want it there anymore, just click and drag it down to the trash can, just so that it's not confusing anymore. All right, again, clicking on the image of Emily. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that I can see the bounding boxes. Edit, transform to scale, and holding down the shift key to constrain the proportions, I am going to reduce and scale down the picture of Emily to fit in my frame. All right, and I'm going to zoom back in, Command plus. All right, and I think I like her placement. I want some even space right here and here. Maybe just a little bit more of the head cut off right there, and I like where it's placed. I'm going to hit return. Okay, and again, I'm going to change the color of the frame. So in that folder, I'm going to double click on vertical frame, color overlay, click on the red icon and change the color. I'm selecting it in my colors palette and hitting OK. All right, so let's get our logo, and I'm going to hit Command A to select it, Command Z to copy, back into our bonus side, and place logo here. Now this image is actually here. You're gonna need to delete it, so I'm just gonna select with my my Marquee tool just over where it says place your logo here and hit delete. I gotta make sure I'm on that layer though. Command D to deselect that, and then I'm gonna hit Command V to place my logo. Now this logo color isn't showing up very well, so what I want to do is change my background color of my image. I'm going to go to overlay and I change it to the lighter color. Hit OK, and that actually shows my logo a little bit better. And then I'm going to have to change the color of my frames. So let's double click on one of the frames, color overlay. It's just a lot of playing around to see what works best. And there we go. And then we can do the same thing with Emily's. Double click that vertical frame, color overlay, click on the new color icon in your Swatch palette and hit OK. Good. So our logo, I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to click on the logo layer, collapse some of these folders so I can see what I'm doing here. Edit, transform to scale. And I'm just going to reduce the size of my logo until it fits proportionally in this. All right, looks pretty good. I think I need a little bit more contrast in that. I have to play with this a little bit until I find the right color on here. My background came off. All right. Let's see. Next will be the image. The next image. Let's see. A horizontal image. I'm going to open that up and get another picture and get the picture of Kaylee. I think I might have it opened. No, that's not it. There it is. Command A to select the image, Command C to paste, or sorry, C to copy. And bonus side. And again, clicking on making sure that I have the right folder selected, Command V to paste. Drag that layer mask onto your image and delete the one we don't need anymore. And unlink the layer mask to the image. Edit, transform to scale. I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, holding down my shift key. And I'm going to bring the image in to the frame. Zoom back in, Command plus. And just reduce it ever a little bit more, and good. I like the placement, hitting return on my keyboard. Okay, now last image. I believe this is the next one of Emily. Yes, Command A to select all, Command C to copy. I'm going to close that, Command W, because I don't need it open anymore. And, oops, put that back. Go back into my bonus side. Close my other folder, and let's find the last box. Place our image, Command V, as in Victor. Drag that layer mask onto the new image. Delete the old layer. It says place photo here. And select on our image, edit, transform to scale. and reduce it the size. I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, and drag that image in there. Oops, a little too much. Zoom back in, Command plus, and let's see, just again Shift key to move it down to where you want it, and hit the return key, and your image is placed there. Now I want some new text where it says place your website info here. Go to your type tool and select that text. It automatically chooses the layer. Command A to select all that text and just start typing in whatever you want. I'm going to type in my website. www.shauna. I want that in lowercase. www.shaunalofy.com. Maybe I want to say view my before and after gallery. Alright, and I'm going to change the color of that text to the coral, so selected all the text, clicking on with the eyedropper tool in my Swatch palette to change the color of that text. Alright, that's it. Oh, wait, we need a couple of boxes here we need to change. That one, okay. Double click on the horizontal frame. Color overlay, red box, Swatch selection, hit OK, hit OK. Good. Close that layer, or sorry, close that folder. And double click the next one, color overlay, and changing the color. Okay, okay. Good. Now again, you're done with your design. You don't have anything else you want to add. Again, you can hide that layer with the guides or click and drag it down. Oh, sorry, one more thing. We want to preserve a Photoshop file again. Always preserve a Photoshop file so you can go back and change it or make a new design from the same layout. File, save as, and in my 5x7 postcards, it's saved on my desktop. Gift voucher, keeping the, I'm going to keep the same file name. You can change it. Make sure the Photoshop format is selected and hit save. All right, and once that's saved, drag your guides layer, the red one, down to the trash. Layer, flatten, save as, and I'm going to save this one as a Photoshop PDF. Hit save. Again, our settings are still there, the same that we had them before. The capability, I didn't go over this before. Most printers, I'm sure, are updated with the most recent version of Acrobat. You can go to the Acrobat 8, Acrobat 9, or 10. I like to keep it at 5 just so that it reduces the file size enough that it will go through the internet and I can upload my artwork. It's still readable from through any printer that may not have had a most recent version of Acrobat. It makes things a lot easier and you don't have any problems. Hit save PDF. Okay, and that's it. All the other templates do exactly the same thing. It's just a matter of placing your images, and I'm going to go in here and show you. Oh, I want to go over this one really quick. But it follows all the same concepts as far as all the back. I'm sorry. Don't save. I can close all this stuff that I don't need open anymore. Okay, now if you wanted to do your option for option 1, side B, you follow the same formula we just went over with the bonus side. Changing the color of the background, opening up those folders and placing your images, dragging the layer masks, changing color. It's all the same thing. Okay. I'll close this, we don't need that anymore. But this particular design is a little different. It follows the same concepts, but this one has an overlay, and I'm going to show you how I played with that one. So I'm going to open up an image of Emily. I'm going to go back into Bridge, and I want to get the one that I had. Let's go to the File View, and I'm going to get my new edited image. Click and drag the icon to Photoshop. And it's going to take a minute. Good. All right, I'm going to hit Command A to select all that image, Command C to copy, and go into our postcard. And in place your photo here, I'm going to Command V as in Victor to place my image. All right, and you can see their image is really large, so I'm going to reduce the size. Go to Edit, Transform to Scale, and Command minus to zoom out. And I'm just going to reduce the size of her image to fit it in my background. And as you can see, the overlay is already doing its job. It looked like a solid gray, but it really isn't. It's actually, the opacity is lowered on that, so you can still see Emily's picture underneath it. I'm going to hit Command plus to zoom in. Okay. And I'm going to move Emily's picture over just a little bit until it's just off the, before we get to the cutoff area of our bleed. And you can see just a little bit of hers covered up. If you have an image that has a little bit more of a textured background, that texture will show underneath this overlay, and you may or may not need to change the opacity of that overlay. Right now I have it set at 100 because it was an overlay that I dragged in from InDesign. But if I want to rasterize this layer, Ctrl, click, rasterize, and now it's an object. I can click on that, oops, Command click on this image. Cancel. Color overlay, and I can change the color of that overlay as much as I want to. You can also make another one. Right now it's at 50%. And it's giving me a little warning that there's not enough pixels to select. You can make a new one by going over to the Marquee tool and just kind of finding that edge of that graphic and bringing it to the guides for the safe area. I have now selected it, sort of selected it. I'm creating a new one. I'm going to go to Create New Layer and fill that with my coral color by Option Delete. And it's now solid. And I can delete my other overlay because right now it's set at 50%. And reduce the opacity here by just dragging the slider on that layer to however I want it to be. I don't think coral works for this. I'm going to go and double click on it, color overlay, and select a new color. That looks okay. There's a lot of gray. There's not a lot of contrast there between the background of this particular image that I have. So I think I'm just going to go back to black or darker gray and select that because I think it works better. And I'm going to hit OK. And everything else is pretty much the same, just following the same formula. You can select your text and change the color here. And then you can add the real text that you want. Right now I can just go and select my other gift voucher, or open up my other gift voucher. Let's see, where is that? 5x7 side A should be Photoshop file. There it is. And I'm going to copy and paste this text. Oh, that's not gift voucher text. You know what? I'm going to go back in InDesign and actually get gift voucher text for this one. Again, if you want to do a type all your text into maybe a notes program like I have here, that's good. I already had mine in InDesign, so I'm just going to go back and open up my gift vouchers again and select gift voucher text right there. And select Command C, go back into Photoshop, and using my type tool, select that text and Command V to paste it. And I'm going to have to reduce the size of some of the stuff and move things up. The disclaimer I can put that at 8-point type because literally there is disclaimer that is usually 8-point type, and it's just a fun little caption. Doesn't necessarily need to be read, but it's there. So I'm going to reduce this font size to 8, change my my leading to 10, and I'm going to move some of this text around so that I don't have a little bit of text here. It just looks really odd. So I'm going to move some more text down to that line so it doesn't look like it's teetering on a little bit of a little line of text. It just looks really strange. My gift voucher, I'm going to bring that down a little bit in size. Again, that's something that doesn't need to be very big. I reduced this to 8 points for that. This is something I just did graphically because I thought it looked kind of cool. I also use a little stamp. Once these are printed, I stamp in the date. And I found that at Office Depot. It is a little date stamper, and you can change, it has like little rotating rubber numbers on it, so you can switch it to whatever year, day, and the date that you want to change it to. Mine expire, I think, December 31st, so I have my little stamp set to that. I think I spent maybe $12 or $15, something like that, on that little date stamper with a little ink pad. You can actually change it manually here in the design and have maybe 100 printed up, and you give all 100 of those out with the already printed date on it. You can change that to, like, say, December 31st, 2013. You can change it that way. I think it probably looks a little nicer anyways. Maybe if you want to drop it down to the next line, just to center it, I think it looks really pretty. It just adds a little bit more to it. You can change the color, so if you want that to stand out a little bit more, or maybe just the date, and maybe make that bold if you want to, if that's something you want to emphasize. Okay, and then I want to change my headline to that color as well. Okay, and you can always change the font. Maybe you want to make this, make this a script font, like a gift from. Go to your fonts, and I'm going to change mine to Mahogany. And then I have to change it to upper lower, so a gift from, maybe all lower, I think it might look better. And increase the size because it looks really tiny at 10 point, maybe back up to 18, or maybe up to 24. I think that looks pretty good. And now you can see that my kerning needs to be adjusted because I don't want anything covering that up. So let's see, kerning, letting, it's at 12, maybe bring it down up to 18. And now we have a good distance between the curvatures of that text, or sorry, script font and the rest of our text. And you can even increase it, make it bigger. Maybe you want that to be all caps. And this, it just looks odd, so I want to adjust the kerning between those these letters because they're just a little extra space with this particular font. And maybe change around this text a little bit so it's not so oddly placed. And see, I have this all sent at 10. I want to highlight this, so I'm going to change that color to draw some attention to it. And then I'm going to place my logo. So again, I'm going to open up my logo. Let's see, that's not it. I think I closed it, so I go to File and Open. And I'm going to go into my logo and get my 3-color logo. And again, open it up at 300 dpi. Cmyk. Command A, copy, Command C. And I go in there and place my new logo. Oops, I want to delete this one because I still want this layer. So I'm going to my Marquee tool, selecting where on that layer where it says place, I'm sorry, your logo here, and delete it. And then Command V to paste my logo. Edit, transform to scale to reduce it to the size that I want it to be. And with my move tool, move my logo over there. Okay. And I want to change this to gift voucher. Oops. Just opened up and made a new layer. Text, don't need that. All right. And I'm going to go to my Lorem Ipsum text. Select all. Change the color and call this gift voucher. And I'm holding down my Shift key to make it all caps. It's pretty standard on any keyboard. And the F and T are just a little too close together, so I'm going to extend the size of the kerning to probably about 35. And I think that looks a little bit better, a little more readable. Okay. And again, to get this ready for print. Oh, and you can, again, same thing. You can change the text. You can change the font, changing orientation. If you want to change this whole design around, it's very simple. You don't want this, overlay. Delete it. Just take it out, and you can change your text to fit in there any way you want to. Right now, there's really not a lot of contrast. You're going to have to change for my design anyway. So I would have to change the entire color of this to make it really, really bright and readable, or even darker. Let's pick a dark font here. There we go. So now it's a little more readable on this document. But I liked it the way that it was. I'm going to go into my history palette and bring it back to where I deleted that layer. Okay, and maybe you want to change the orientation. So again, it's just a matter of selecting that that layer, edit, transform to rotate, and holding down your Shift key until it gets to your horizontal. Yes, apply until you change that to horizontal text. And then again, it's just placing it wherever you want that design to be. Again, it just doesn't look very pleasing with this particular layout. But again, it's just a matter of changing things around. Maybe you want this to extend all the way across. Transform to edit, transform to scale. And I'm going to extend gift voucher all the way across. And move my logo. Take that out. There's my logo. Maybe I'm going to move my logo maybe up here. It doesn't look really good. Maybe I just take my logo out too and just save it for the back side. Get Voucher down. And you got your text here. And again, you'd have to change the color of your text in order for it to fit. And put this back to Adobe Condensed and all caps. And change the color. And change the size back to 12. Or maybe it's 10. And change my leading back to 12. Okay, so there's my text almost done. Change it to something a little bit darker. Good, fits in there pretty well. It really just depends on how you want this to look. You can play with it and change the design around. Look at examples of magazines to get some really great ideas for layout for on a particular page. There's certain like ads in there that have a kind of a similar setup as far as how they place their text and how they place their images and how they place images on top of text. But it's really just a matter of how it works for you. And maybe I want to change this one to lowercase. I'm going to go to the, oops, sorry, it's not showing up here. I'm going to reduce the size of my box here so you can see it. Move this over a little bit. Okay, and in my type palette, character palette, you'll see this little arrow with a couple of lines next to it. It looks like a down arrow. Click on that. And you can change it from to small caps, from all caps to small caps. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't work because I typed it in as all caps. It works really well. It works for an Illustrator and InDesign. Apparently it doesn't work in Photoshop. I'm going to make that a suggestion to them. So gift voucher. Oops. Move that text back over here. I'm going to extend this back out again so I have a little more room. Alright, and select this text and change this to script font. Looks really good. Change the size, because this particular font's really small. Maybe drop this up to 100. Alright, so I got gift voucher in there a little differently. It's really how you want your design and your layout to be. Okay, I'm going to go back into my history palette and bring it back to where I had it for my design that I like to use. Good. Okay. Now say you're done, you have your design exactly the way you want it to be. We're going to do a save as and save this new gift voucher. Photoshop format, hit save. Changing your file name if you want to. I'm going to delete this, the guides, layer to flatten. And what I didn't show you on the previous designs, right now this file I think is set to RGB. If it's already set to Cmyk, you won't need to worry about it, but the best way to check is go to Image, Mode, and it is selected as RGB. You need to go to Cmyk. Now it changes the entire document to be able to print in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Those are inks. RGB is red, green, and blue, which is used on monitors and TVs. You don't want that. It won't print. The printer will say, hey, you sent us the wrong file. It needs to be Cmyk. They won't change it. You need to do this. So changing it manually, go into Image, Mode, change to Cmyk. Then we do File to save as. And I want to save this as a Photoshop PDF. You can change the name if you want to. And hit save. Again, we had our previous settings. Capability should be at the minimum for readability. Again, Photoshop Acrobat 8 works pretty well. Again, I just default it to Acrobat 5. I don't want to preserve any Photoshop editing because it'll make my file size way too big, and there's no reason for the printer to have to edit your files. That's your job. So unless you pay them extra to do it, I know there's a lot of companies out there like Vistaprint, Gotprint, they actually do designing for you. But if you want to keep it specific to your brand, you want things to match, which I am all about consistency. I urge people to keep all their marketing consistent because you want people to immediately recognize that that's you. You're building a brand. You want things to match. You don't want everything looking different. It makes it look like there's you're five different photographers all at once, and it's not good. Hit Save PDF. All right, and that's it. That's how you work with these templates. Again, be as creative as you possibly can with your design. I just gave you the bare bones to create something, to edit your images to get you started. And hopefully I can have some more tutorials up that kind of give a little bit more explanation in how to create new designs and give you some inspiration. Something I'm working on. It'll probably be about a month before I can get something up, but I am trying to get some good stuff up there and getting a lot of suggestions from you and just coming up with new ideas. So enjoy making your gift vouchers, your postcards, your direct mailers, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good day.